Wrestler of the Year. As you can see by the screen, Rollins, Nick Aldis, Kazuchika Okada, Johnny Impact, Chris Jericho, Jacob Fatu, and Sami Callihan were all nominated. But the winner, in a pretty big landslide, was in fact Sami Callihan. So, Marcus, Sami Callihan, Wrestler of the Year. Did you vote for him? Do you agree with it?
I did. I did vote for Callahan. Also voted for Okada, Mr. House Money, if you will. But yeah, I mean, I can't really disagree. I mean, the man. What's so great about him having the title is it was actually something that was built to.
Mm-hmm.
So it felt earned, and he's been consistently got himself talked about, and it turned out some memorable matches. Not necessarily technical classes, but that's not necessarily his style either. So, but yeah, he's been 100% committed to Impact and knowing everything, and primarily been holding down multiple storylines on the show all year. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to argue.
Next up, we have the most consistent performer. Nick Aldis, Will Ospreay, Kazuchika Okada, Daniel Bryan, Tessa Blanchard, Sam Callihan, John Moxley. Not to be shocking, but Sami Callihan again walks away with this award. And I think there's some truth to that when you think about his matches from the last 2 or 3 years. You know, his feuds with Eddie Edwards, with Pentagon. Heading into this year, he faced off with Brian Cage in a really good match. Who was he? Rich Swann and Willie Mack. You know, he had some really good
Hmm.
bangers this year.
Yeah.
And credit in the world to Swann and Mack as well,
Hmm.
because they're phenomenal as well. So Callahan really did showcase himself as a top guy this year, definitively, and fans of Impact voted him Wrestler of the Year for the second year in a row. So, you know, apparently they think so. Marcus, the only one who was close to him truly was Ospreay. Moxley came in third. What's your thoughts on Sammy being considered the best worker, essentially? Because that's what this award is, the Best Worker Award.
Yeah, for me, I probably would have went. I was favoring Osprey, but again, I mean, you go through the top matches of the year, Callahan's in them, and obviously it's two to tango. Like specifically with his matches, his stint with Rich. I mean, Swan's ability to turn out a performance, top tier performance, whether he's the one going on the offense or taking it, um, is top rank. But yeah, I mean, with he's turning up the aggression, the brutality. I mean, you feel the stuff he's doing
Mm-hmm.
when he's out there, and it's all in character, 100%. I'm not a fan of anything dealing with his saliva at all. 'Cause I don't need him. I probably cringed 3 times at something else that day, and that was probably on Twitter. And I get to hear, and he's catching loogies in his mouth and hurling them. But aside from that, I mean, he is a consistent performer. I mean, it's all also crazy how much stuff we've seen him do, and he's managed to stay healthy and all that uh
Fair is
stuff.
fair, but his accuracy with that saliva is fantastic because I can't catch my own spit. Like, it would just like hit me in the eye or like hit someone in the face, be like, oh, I'm sorry, I was doing something. My
Yeah, his
bad.
his loogie hurling and catching, and Triple H's ability to spew water in a cool way. Uh,
It's it,
yeah,
it's it's very spot on.
yeah, it's intriguing. It's definitely intriguing. But yeah, like I said, I was pulling for Osprey because I'm more keen to his style,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been cool to see how he's evolved that style to be more grounded, to be more protective of his longevity in the industry, and I mean, he's been a star with the New Japan, and really just the man you can't miss. But again, this is how the vote went. Like I said, when you look at the year, Callahan, yeah, the man's on. You don't have to like him, but you got to respect him.
He also had some pretty good main events on Impact Plus. One of which I really enjoyed was with Rhino. So, and Rhino really, he's had a nice career resurgence this year as well. I
Yeah,
just want to point that out because I don't think he's going to win comeback. Oh, and Callahan also had a great match with Shamrock, of all people. So, tag team of the year, we had LAX, the Rascals, the GOD, Gorillas of Destiny, The North, the New Day, the Undisputed Era, and the Von Erichs. Like a freight train running away, LAX gets the win. Pride and Powerful. Your tag team of the year. And honestly, I think the only team that really should have had a closer run with this would have been GOD, because they've been champions since last February. Or this February, technically. So, like, they've had a long-ass run, and even though that's probably going to come to an end against FinJuice on the 4th, doesn't take away from the longevity of their run. The North will very much be in consideration next year, but they got too late of a jump to be considered this year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Undisputed Era, they're 4 bland dudes who don't really talk all that well. It's like, I don't know. You're everyone else on the indie scene. Whatever. The Rascals didn't win a lot this year, but their segments were like, they're the inverse of the Undisputed Era. The Undisputed Era did nothing but win and be boring. The Rascals were nothing but exciting and funny, but didn't win at all. The New Day, I feel like, weren't really seen as much of a successful tag team for a bulk of the year until after Big E's injury. And the Von Erichs, I think, fall in the same camp as the North. They got started too late in MLW, but they did win the tag team titles, and they are a fun tag team to watch, so definitely check that out. Marcus, I doubt you have any issues with LAX winning.
Shout out to Conan, because these guys are on point like a decimal.
I love that. Tell me you came up
They're
with
like
that.
a scarecrow. They're outstanding in their field, man. I love it.
Are these things you come up with? Because I
No,
love them.
this is the stuff Conan used to say in those backstage promos. And he used to hype them up.
I was so excited. I was like,
I,
wait,
I got
listen to all this originality. Nope.
I love to take credit, but I gotta give it to Conan. I always give credit where it's due, man. Those backstage promos are some of my favorite stuff. They're like, we're on point like a decimal, and, and like scarecrows, we're outstanding in our field.
Take
Like
a page from Steve Jobs and take credit for everything, Marcus. God damn it. Come on.
yeah. But yeah, man, LAX, man. I mean, they tore it up in Impact. They as it was sad to see them leave, but they did everything. They gave everything. They held down the fort when it really wasn't a lot of other tag teams there. And then when the division got built back up, they, very much catapulted and propped up a lot of other guys, the Rascals, Lucha Bros, and of course passed the torch to the North on their way out. So, nothing but respect and kudos to those guys. And now they in AEW, well, hopefully they show out. But yeah, definitely you got to give it to LAX, man. I mean, they literally did everything. They defined their own version of LAX, came to fault the old LAX, and then like just their whole run is just some of my favorite stuff in the last few years of Impact. And like I said, they had a really great exit that we don't necessarily get from a lot of people when they leave the company. So kudos to those boys.
Why are you bringing up Killer Cross right now? So, I agree with everything you said. The only caveat I'll add is that maybe LAX should have rethought about leaving, because I've seen them in AEW. That show is not impressing me at all, Marcus.
I get it. Hey, man, I get it. At least they close to Jericho, was, like we said, basically the only one with the spear bomb right now.
At least they're close to God. Jeez. All right. So once I want to minimize this a little bit so I can. There we go. All right. So next up is Indie/Developmental Wrestler of the Year. This may just be renamed the Indie Award for next year. We'll find out. Mostly it depends on what happens with OVW and NXT in that time period. So your nominees are Dasher Hatfield, Nick Aldis, Mercedes Martinez, Justin Smooth of OVW, Nicole Savoy, Chris Statlander. This is before she signed with AEW. And Jeff Cobb. Shockingly enough, with 50% of the vote, Nick Aldis wins this. I mean, he's been champion for essentially 3 years with a minor 6-week hiccup in between. Like, I get it. Although, would you
Yeah,
consider NWA still an indie league now?
I don't. I mean, it don't feel like it to me. Um, like it's very legit to me, but I can get how some people conceive it that way, but I'm just it's just legit to me. You know, it's the NWA, so you know, and while it's not on TV, it does produce a weekly show. So um, I'm with you. I get it with all this, but I do think people need to kind of start looking at NWA is maybe more than an indie. So
I think it's going to depend for me on if they do get a TV deal. Because if they get a TV deal and they're able to start bringing guys in regularly with deals, then you
yeah,
can't say they're an indie. But as of right now, a lot of their guys are still kind of on a per date appearance. And I think the only person that has a genuine contract is Aldis. So I don't know. I don't know if I would consider it an indie anymore. But when we came up with this list originally, it was right before the taping started, and I had Aldis pegged in this category back in fucking January. So this has been a long kind of culmination for Aldis in this category. But you're very right. Come next year, we might not have the NWA considered as an indie anymore. So we'll have to get a little bit more curious with how we select our picks, because before we used to have top indie stars plus NXT and OVW guys. But that, I guess, is no longer going to be a possibility. So, that's life. Next up, we have the Foreign Company Wrestler of the Year. I believe this is a new category for this year. We made it last year. I'm not really sure. Your nominations are Kazuchika Okada of New Japan, Jay White of New Japan, Kaito Kiyomiya, I'm sure I didn't pronounce that right, of Noah, Kento Miyahara of All Japan, Nebula Roja of CMLL, Daga of AAA, and Maya Maya Yuki of Ice, which is Ice Ribbon Dancing. Shockingly enough, Marcus, Okada took this with nearly 7% of the vote. Are you surprised that Okada dominated?
and who got it?
Okada. He dominated.
Oh, cool.
Nearly
Yeah,
7% of the
cool.
vote.
Naturally. I mean, he's the whatever. I mean, people say the gold standard, but I mean, it's more than gold, platinum. He's the platinum standard of New Japan. Like I said, the guy's playing with house money. It's hard to bet against him. You're probably gonna lose if you do most of the time. Though it will be in high question coming up this weekend. Um, 'Cause it's gonna be a long 2 days, but both for the fans and the participants. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of can't really debate that the guy is, the foreign standard. So
We move on to Mike Worker of the Year. Moose, The Rascals. Chris Jericho, The New Day. Sami Callihan, Eli Drake, and Rosemary. All very good conversation lists.
hmm
I feel like I forgot to put someone on this list. I was talking about him, and I think I forgot him. Oh, well. But he may not have made the final cut anyway. So Jericho obviously is the name that everyone is looking at. Same with Eli Drake. But shockingly enough, again, Sami Callihan wins this with half the vote. I mean, Sami Callihan's earning that Wrestler of the Year nomination with each and every award. Marcus, I know you probably would have voted for Lamakian's original namer. I forget the actual term for someone who comes up with something else. Or Eli Drake, because I know you're big fans of both men. But how do you feel about Callahan getting the promo of the year?
again, I can't be mad. I mean, I never feel like I never sigh or hunch my shoulders to get ready to turn the TV off or whatnot. However, I'm viewing Impact whenever he's on the mic. Kind of just does what he wants, and he's very much in an environment to do that in Impact. Um, Eli is always great, but I think over the course of the year, um, he was just more consistent, and then he cut that promo before the title match, which was great, which he basically took us from that whole Eddie Edwards incident up until the point where he was challenging Cage, so that was great. Um, and of course, Jericho. This was a hard category,
Mm-hmm.
like you said. But again, Callahan is another one on the mic, man. He spits fire, and it's these guy that just captures your attention. So again, you can't really be. This was a no-win situation because all three guys are great. But again, like you said, Callahan has proven his mettle.
No win or all win, because there's not really a bad selection in that bunch.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even with Rosemary, though, I would love to get more of her when she's on. I mean, come on. No
Yeah.
matter who she's interacting with, whether it's the bunny, whether it's the dead chick who died and then came back to life, or whatever's going on with Sue Young, or her, just her length of exchanges with Taya Valkyrie, which is highly entertaining.
Those were
It's great
great.
stuff.
Next up, we have Gimmick of the Year. So your nominees are The Fiend, Nick Aldis's World's Champ, Rosemary the Demon, Injustice's Social Campaign, they're of MLW fame, Sue Young's alter ego Susie, Johnny Swinger's Stuck in the 80s, and Moose Best Athlete Alive. This is kind of going to be a bit of a surprise considering how not a fan of this I was when I saw it. But Johnny Swinger won. And I agree. Think about so Mark is like for those of you that don't know Johnny Swinger's history, he was in Impact 2002, 2003, 2005. Just kind of a guy. He was in ECW before that. Just kind of a guy. He's never been more entertaining than he is today. And he's been in the business some 25 years. This dude is more relevant today than he was in his athletic prime. I have a hard time arguing against that.
Can't be mad at it, man. He's a literal throwback, and he's making it work. And I think that's aided by being in that Impact environment. Because he very much, when I first saw him, I thought that who was the guy that was beefing with Tessa Blanchard?
Disco?
The guy that was beefing. Yeah, I thought Disco had came back in another gimmick because he looked like him to me a little bit. But then
Not
you
all
said that was
white people look alike, Marcus.
yeah, as I'm constantly reminded by my call. But it just looked eerily similar to me, and they're like, wait a minute, that's a different guy. And then of course you filled me in, as I was not grow up watching a lot of ECW. Um,
I don't blame anyone for not watching ECW.
yeah, shout out to CW Anderson. Shout out to that one commenter. By the way, appreciate the comment and listening. Um, but yeah, I can't be mad at it. I mean, to get something like that over and then what is this finisher? The mood swing, which is basically a swinging net breaker.
Yep. He's innovating. He's innovating new moves every day. Like the mood swing.
Oh, freaking love Don Callis for that. I've never seen anything like that before. Damn it, Don.
Don
But
just
yeah, I
screaming
can't
out,
be mad at it.
"These young men are killing the business." It's a fucking swinging neck breaker.
Yeah, man, I can't be mad at it. I'm glad for him. I hope he got on the site and voted for himself.
I mean, I would be surprised. All right, most improved. Nominations are Kelly Klein, Kira Hogan, Moose, John Moxley, Carl Fredericks, Rhea Ripley, and Ace Austin. I honestly thought that this was going to be a runaway for either Carl Fredericks or Rhea Ripley. I was wrong. Because Moose was all like, watch out. Boom, here I am. Give me the award. Although Kira Hogan did come in second and Moxley tied for her. So,
Oh man, I'm happy for our boy Moose. I mean, look, man, he maybe a couple years back, even a year ago, he could have been just viewed as the guy that did the hand gesture.
mm-hmm.
Now he's this whole thing. I mean, like I said, one of the best things that came out of that little short-lived faction with Aries, Cross, and Moose was that he got to keep the theme music,
Mm-hmm.
which which went not only with the new tone of his new character, but also separated him from his old, the more upbeat Moose, because he couldn't keep that with the attitude that he has now.
Right.
Um, so I thought that was a great transition, and it goes perfectly with his swag. He's coming out with the Moose slash Flair-esque robes, and just, I mean, he's relishing in it. This has been some of the best stuff that we've seen him do, and he's really coming to his own in this whole thing. He looks better, he flows better in the ring. He's more confident now. Got the no jackhammer needed spear, um, which is how it should be done. Piss off. What's the guys? The freaking bro guy in NXT you can piss off taking shots at Goldberg.
Oh, Riddle.
Uh, yeah, it's not cool, bro. But yeah, man, Moose most improved. That's not I. Yeah, like you said, who came in second? Kier Hogan. That's a
Yep.
great, because I voted for both of them. But I mean, it's not debatable. Moose is leaps and bounds from where he was, and we've been consistently saying that he's been leaps and bounds from certain points for a while now. So that's getting to see somebody grow like that is really great. And I'm glad he's another one of these guys who, like the boys in the North, all ego Ethan Page. He's a real, like, fan and cheerleader, if you will, for lack of a better term, for this company.
Mm-hmm.
So
With Moose and Kira especially, like Moose with this new gimmick really solidified his new heel role much better than he did last year. But also his entrance where it's like, just that light blue silhouette behind him as he walks to the ring, like that's really fucking cool. It's a very minimalistic way of presenting someone in a very big way. And I appreciate that. With Kira Hogan, I feel like she just started to tap into what her identity could be beyond just the kind of very gimmicky girl on fire idea. So I'm very curious to see what 2020 holds for her as she recovers from the shoulder injury, because I feel like we just started to kind of meet this heel persona of her. So I feel like there's a lot of room for her to grow. And I think, with Impact's track record of getting people over in the last 3 years, I am very curious to see what Kira Hogan looks like in 2020, because she might be the early frontrunner for Most Improved for next year. So I'm very excited about that for her.
yeah, great.
All right, so we have Arrival of the Year. It's going to be our first tie of the night. So the nominees are Kenta, John Moxley, Michael Elgin. Sorry, let me redo this. Kenta of New Japan, Moxley of New Japan, Elgin of Impact, Jericho of AEW, Tim Thatcher of MLW, Eli Drake of NWA, and Rob Van Dam of Impact. Your winners, plural, are actually going to be John Moxley for New Japan. And I'm a bit surprised by this one, but all right. Michael Elgin of Impact. Now, say what you will about Elgin as a human being, because God knows you can. There's a lot there. I think Elgin as a performer has shown exactly what he's about in Impact this year. Because I think just as his in-ring work goes, not him as a human being, but as his in-ring work goes, he's genuinely one of the best I've seen this year. He has great matches with everyone. And that's not always an easy thing to do, especially when you're someone the size of Elgin. Because I would argue that Cage hasn't always had great matches with everyone. Cage is really damn good, but sometimes you just don't have the right energy or chemistry or the right styles to coincide with one another. Elgin doesn't adapt. He's not Big E. He's not going to dive through the ropes or do a 450 or do a somersault onto a group of guys. He's just going to wrestle his way, and it works. I don't think there's anyone in this room who would doubt that John Moxley rejuvenated his career arguably more in New Japan than he did in AEW, because that whole run he had in that G1 was fantastic. Plus, he made Shooter. He made him out of nothing. He molded him from clay, Marcus, and then he gifted him a jacket. Gave a pile of clay a jacket. I mean, that's Moxley for you. How do you feel about Moxley and Elgin winning this award?
No, I mean, look, like you said, I mean, you said it perfectly with Elgin, man. No matter how you feel about him as a human being, and there's a lot to feel, um, if you have them. I've never taken away anything that I've had thought or said about Elgin. I've never taken away his in-ring ability. He's one of the best. Surely for his size, what he can do in that ring, at the level he can do it is you don't get that a lot. We see more of it now, but you don't necessarily get it at the consistency and at the level that he does. One of the favorite matches this year was his match with who it was, Marufuji.
Yep.
Oh, that was a great match, and he's had some great matches with a lot of different guys, and he turns out a lot of great matches, which is why we got him. Much to the chagrin of a lot of people, why he was in the G1 a lot, because
Hmm.
he has the ability to turn out a lot of great matches. So I can't be mad at that, and he's done that in Impact, so I can't be mad at that. And come on, man, Moxley, we finally, like I said, we finally getting to see the Lunatic Fringe in its proper form, and he was smart on him to go to New Japan and be able to, you know, uh, showcase that more hardcore style with those guys who pride themselves on being some of the toughest SOBs to grace the industry. So seeing him go against somebody like Tomohiro Ishii and have one of the matches of the year uh, for a lot of people, and then a lot of his clashes with other guys. The guy, I mean, he's doing exactly what he was meant to do as a performer and that character. So yeah, I can't be mad. It's a hell of a tie. I'll probably edge out Moxley just because the flip around was so it was so night and day from us seeing him be like a bullshit Bane where he was what was he doing when he came back against Rollins? Was he inhaling paint or something?
He's wearing a
Whatever it was.
gas mask. I remember that.
Yeah, ran gas masks and all that kind of garbage. But it felt like night and day. Like he was literally born again when he went to New Japan, and obviously he's doing stuff in AEW now. So, yeah, but that's a good tie. That's a quality tie right there.
I was gonna do a Bane line, but I couldn't think of one, so I'm just gonna move on. All right, comeback of the year, aka Impact's roster. Johnny Swinger, Rob Van Dam, Ken Shamrock, Michael Elgin, Rhino, Rosemary, and then the lone holdover MLW's LA Park. I'm not really surprised, but I kind of am because you could make an argument for just about everyone on this list, including Rhino. But Ken Shamrock, at 56 years old, won the award, and I really can't argue against it. He's not the wrestler he once was, but considering his age, the amount of wear and tear on his body, the copious amounts of steroids he clearly still uses, I'm genuinely surprised he's still as good as he is and looks as good as he still does. So, credit where credit's due on that one, I guess. What about you? Thoughts on Shamrock winning comeback of the year?
Yeah, again, like you said, like the mic worker category, this is a kind of all-win situation. Um, all these particular candidates have very valid standpoints and come back. I mean, RVD is back and probably delivering some of the most. He's the most entertaining he's been for me in years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just because of stuff that he's doing and saying. His about to say consigliere, but his
Valet,
but
girlfriend,
yeah, his better half, if you will, he definitely catches your eye for a variety of reasons.
the hoe with
Um,
Mo.
the Howard Bow, there it is. But yeah, he's hella entertaining and other candidates as well. But Ken Shamrock has been a pleasant surprise. I didn't expect much. Obviously knowing a lot about him, but not getting obviously saying anything from him since his years in WWE or whatnot. He's come in and he looks good. Of course, if he's aided by that, that's his thing. Um, he's an older guy. But even if he's not in the ring, he's hella entertaining. Like some of that stuff he did with Moose was great just because of their interaction. Like he's intense, you feel it, and he's another one who's not too shabby on the mic as well. So
No, not at all. So we move on to lower card standout. This is the list of guys who maybe weren't winning a lot, but they always made you want to tune in. Dominic Arini, Chad Gable. I refuse to call him his new name. The Rascals, Falaba, Carl Fredericks, Tom Lawler, and Leo Rush. Tom Lawler maybe shouldn't have been on this list considering he was a main eventer for a lot of the year, but still. Winners decisively with over half the vote is the Rascals.
Yes.
I don't know how this is going to be a competition. Like, let's be honest. Ba had a chance, and he was second. Carl Fredericks was third. But to be honest, like, this was obviously going to be the Rascals. How could they not? This is literally the category put in there for the best gimmicks that don't win. The Rascals are the best gimmicks, just with their little treehouse segments. Like, it's fantastic. Trey and Dez, or Wentz and Dez, getting all up on Trey's mom, like, before she even debuts. What does his mom look like? Oh, man, she's like, yeah. What you guys talking about? Nothing.
And even that, like you said, I mean, they do win. It's just sporadically.
Mm-hmm.
Because they won individually and stuff like that, and tag teams, but it's kind of sporadic. But even without like wins, just seeing those guys' cohesion in that ring and the stuff they do, the moves they pull off, the timing for that aided moonsault finisher that they do.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
the push salt.
yeah, the push salt. I mean, just brilliant. You know, that like I said, they just flow so well, and you know, it's been such a great addition for Desmond Xavier, who, you know, coming out of him winning that X tournament and not necessarily um, getting the X title, which is the way I thought they was heading. He was kind of stuck there for a while, and then they came in and kind of everything started clicking for him. So that's been great. But yeah, man, I mean, it's the Rascals. I mean, I like Leo Rush, but he didn't start doing anything relevant till the end of the year. Um, and like you said, the other guy was champion most of the year. But this was the Rascals all day. I mean, you can't watch the Rascals and not be entertained in some way, either by them smoking segments or by what they do in the ring. So
Yeah, they do good work. Next up is the female of the year. Not just excluded to wrestlers. It could be for managers, valets, whatever. Nominees are Tessa Blanchard, Taya Valkyrie, Becky Lynch, Kelly Klein, Bayley, the Beast of Women of Wrestling fame, and Allison Kay. This might be the most lopsided victory we've had all year. Again, haven't seen the results yet. Can't say for sure, but Tessa Blanchard with over 80% of the vote. I don't even think you can argue that.
oh, that's pretty landslidish. You know?
Like, Becky Lynch doesn't deserve it. She had a terrible year. But she was champion! Yeah. And no one cared to tune in to see it. I don't know how you
I,
get that.
I think people like, you know, what we see with the movies, they equate quantity of money made
To quality of
with
product.
quality. Yeah. And they equate when it comes to wrestling, frequency of seeing him on TV with like having a big year.
Mm-hmm.
Like Becky, you know, she's been champion and this and the third, had a lot of feuds, but for the most part, you know, she's been wildly overexposed. Um, and she's not really had anything of substance coming out of WrestleMania because Ronda hasn't been there, and primarily, you know, WWE only really focused on three women, and that's her, Charlotte, and Sasha. Now that Sasha kind of been pushed to the side, they just, you know, they clearly got a hard on for Charlotte as they always have. But yeah, she's not really had anything to do. I mean, she came out of WrestleMania with feuding with Lacey Evans. There's no credibility to be gained there. Come on, people. And everything else, they're just getting her back to Oscar, and that seems like a decision that they had to do because they was running out of other stuff. So, which was really the logical thing to do when you look at the fact that she actually beat her at the Royal Rumble. But you know, that's going back on logical history. So yeah, man, Tessa Blanchard, whether you agree with what's going on in Impact with her storyline or not, she's been consistently on TV and in relevant stuff and building and constantly getting better. So, and she's been one of the premier names of Impact since she's debuted, which you know is not really debatable. So, yeah, like you said, it's a landslide clearly.
We made our thoughts very clear about the intergender aspect of what's going on with Tessa, but that aside, she's had a strong year. Great match with Taya and Gail Kim. Even a good match
Uh-huh.
with Sami Callihan to main event Slammiversary. So there's not
Yeah.
a lot wrong with her winning Female of the Year because she's, in my opinion, the best female worker I've ever seen. And that's with Gail Kim in the conversation. So, you know. Speaking of things that are fun to talk about, busts, not the busts on women, but the busts in the wrestling ring, the bust of the year. Kind of a long list, but no longer than the rest. Seth Rollins, Braun Strowman, EC3, Lashley, Rusev, Kofi Kingston, ACH. EC3, Lashley, Rusev, and Kofi Kingston pain my soul to put on this list, but be honest, Kofi had a very lackluster title run. Rusev was in a cake last night. I don't need to expand on that. Lashley was next to that cake last night. And EC3 went from being the face of Impact to being on main event. So,
Considering where I think he is doing most of these shows, EC3 might have made that cake last night.
It's extremely possible. He's got to earn his contract somehow.
Yeah, now I think this is where the thing, the term probably applied. This is a no-win situation.
Yup.
This is where it's
Well,
probably used at.
there is a win. Seth Rollins is on this list.
I mean, somebody won, but yeah, this is just capital cringe right here with this. I mean, Seth Rollins is, I mean, the amount of suck that he achieved both on and off screen is so palpable. But EC3, I mean, because this is the year he debuted in that ladder match, or was that last year?
I think that was last year.
Yeah, last year, because there's been a stretch of time from his time in NXT to the main roster. But yeah, I mean, damn, you gotta give it to Rollins because the way he was. I mean, it was, we heard about the summer of Punk. It felt like the summer of Rollins, but that was last year, and then the turnaround that he's had to be, damn near must see for a lot of people, to just absolutely abysmal and like the ass clown of anything he's involved with is it's incredible, and it's not all on the company. He's done a lot of legwork to help them out with that. So
Daniel Bryan's being misbooked, but Daniel Bryan still has all of his fan base.
yeah,
So you can't, if you're a Seth Rollins fan, you can't blame that on the WWE. We like certain guys when they're not being booked because of the way they handle things. It's that, face, in the face of extenuating circumstances, or in the face of, I want to say obscurity. That ain't right. But it's that idea that when you're facing down a difficult situation, you can overcome it or at least persevere. Seth Rollins can't do
adversity.
that.
Yeah.
Adversity, face of adversity. Thank you. I knew it was a word. I knew it was a word that ended in idity. The winner, by the by, is in fact Seth Rollins. I don't think that should be surprising to anyone. EC3 came in second. What are you going to do?
It's well earned.
It's well earned. News story of the year. Your nominees are Pro Wrestling No gets purchased and rebooted. Seems to be going around a lot for wrestling these days. Roman Reigns is in remission. Killer Cross's Impact drama, which is officially over, thankfully. The formation of AEW. New Japan's parent company buys Stardom. Impact's parent company buys Access TV. And Ring of Honor's downfall and misconduct allegations. Shockingly enough, AEW's formation wins this year, with Impact buying Access TV being in second. Truthfully, I think that those are fair. So, I have no problem with those two being 1 and 2. AEW forming, is that the biggest news story of the year for you?
Yeah. I mean, when I thought about it, because I kind of waited, because Ring of Honor did so much heavy lifting in this last quarter to take the cake on this particular category. Um, but you look at it, a legitimate third brand coming in Northside anyway, to be a legitimate contender with prime time TV. um, at a time where WWE's creative product is at an all-time high of garbage. Yeah, yeah, I gotta say they edged it out. Obviously, how things are seeming to turn out may have confidence waning, but the hype was real when it first kicked off. So yeah.
Next up, we have Male Feud of the Year. Nominees are Brian Cage versus Sami Callihan, LAX versus the Lucha Bros, Cody versus Dustin, Kenta versus the New Japan Dojo, Contra Unit versus the Von Erickson Lawler, Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole, and Moose versus the Sport of MMA. I'm not really surprised, but I kind of am that Cage and Callahan didn't win. But LAX and the Lucha Bros are your winners for Male Feud of the Year. I don't have much to say about this one. I think their matches were fantastic, but at times I thought they were a little bit over the top and gimmicky. And seeing how both teams are kind of struggling in AEW without the same kind of structure, I don't know. Maybe there's some truth to what I was thinking before, but they're your winners. What you think? Do you think LAX and Lucha Bros had the feud of the year?
I like their feud, but when I cause I made sure every time I voted, I didn't just frivolously click something because I liked it, like I really thought about it. And when I looked at it, I was like, look, they had some great matches, and the whole connection of Conan being the linchpin of everything was cool. But at times it kind of made things a little frustrating because just because of the back and forth. But when it came to Brian Cage and Callahan, it started off as one thing because Cage had like just an up and down year as a
Mm-hmm.
champion, and we both saw that as fans, and he admitted it. He hasn't run from it, so kudos to him. But that feud, they got me into that feud, and bringing in his the lovely Melissa Santos helped in that, and just like Callahan took it to new levels. It kind of harkened back to going back to the feuds between the Hardy family and the freaking Decay. They going to people's houses and kind of kidnap the kids and this stuff. Like Callahan was damn near taking it to those levels, which was cool. And I think he did a great thing and kind of helping elevate Cage's game. Obviously, he does his thing in the ring, but in terms of his intensity and just keeping that flavor, because they got into these feuds and Cage wasn't coming out, just posing, getting ready to do a freaking elbow and collar top. Like he was coming to kill him, and you felt that. So I think for me, they take it because they got me invested specifically towards the end when you talking about freaking his wife taking some serious bumps with obviously I'm guessing easy break bottle glass, but
That was a hell of a moment on Impact during their wedding celebration.
yeah.
Oh boy. So yeah, LAX and Lucha Bros though are your feud of the year. Female feud of the year: Tessa Blanchard versus Gail Kim, Io Shirai versus Candice LeRae, Taya Valkyrie versus Rosemary. Where am I? The Beast versus Jungle Girl from Women of Wrestling. Allison Kay versus Thunder Rosa, Trish Stratus versus Charlotte Flair, and Bianca Belair versus Shayna Baszler. God damn it, speak. Marcus, would you like to take a guess who won this running away?
Blanchard and Kim?
Oh, nailed it. Gail Kim's the
Yes.
best wrestler of all time for women, and Tessa's her heir apparent. What did you think was going to happen, folks? I don't think we need to
And
have too much of a
it,
conversation about that.
there are very few things more entertaining. Well, very few things that was more entertaining to watch than obsessive Tessa.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, like when that girl is obsessed, and Callahan's been getting a good heaping dose of it all year. But watching her go around and just she was just freaking obsessed and going around looking for Robert Irvine and that whole skitting his quote unquote restaurant. That was great, and she kind of reminded me of Joe back when he was in NXT. Anytime he'd have a problem, he'd just scream, "Regal!" Just, that was just some great stuff. So yeah, yeah. I mean, Led, I mean, it was a great feud. Got Kim back in the ring to have a proper, um, or the way she wanted to go out, literally passing the torch to the next generation, which was a great match. Gotta love that Phantom 619. Um, but yeah, I mean, this was some great stuff.
So that takes us to match of the year: Tanahashi versus Omega at Wrestle Kingdom 13. Ospreay versus Shingo Takagi at Best of the Super Juniors 19. Barnett versus Suzuki at Josh Barnett's Bloodsport number 1. Mr. Touchdown versus Dasher Hatfield at Once Upon a Beginning for Shikara. Cody versus Dustin at Double or Nothing. Lucha Bros versus LAX at Rebellion. And Pete Dunne versus Walter at NXT New York. The fans have voted overwhelmingly that Lucha Brothers versus LAX at Rebellion to be the match of the year. I say overwhelmingly, but it wasn't. It was by the skin of their teeth. In order, the runners-up were Shingo versus Ospreay at number 2. Number 3, Cody versus Dustin. 4 is Dunn versus Walter. 5 is Barnett versus Suzuki. 6 is Tanahashi Omega. And last is Hatfield Touchdown. Y'all disappointed me by not voting Shikara. I'm just saying, letting my feelings be known. Y'all disappointed me. Marcus, we have a match of the year. It is officially Lucha Bros versus Alex at Rebellion. Some will argue that this isn't even the best match between the two of them, but I think it is. That's why I made the list. Thoughts on match of the year?
I can't be mad at it. I mean, look, I mean, there are no losers here. These are all phenomenal matches. Anybody who voted, I encourage you to go watch all these matches. And you'll be doing yourself a favor, specifically if you don't want the last burning image or something you see in the wrestling world to be that damn Lana wedding. But yeah, I can't be mad. I mean, these guys literally damn near killed themselves to put on a great performance. And if you go back and watch the match, you'll see that in several different instances. Um, yeah, I can't be mad at it. And what you said was after that Ospreay and Shingo.
Yeah.
I'm right there with that. Hell, I might have even put it above that. But again, it's just so close. And then Dunn Walter was another one, so that probably would have been my top 3. Um, but yeah, there are no losers here. This was just a great slew of stuff. And honestly, we could have put more, but we try to keep these things kind of condensed. But
we had
'cause
25 nominations that we whittled down to 7. So
yeah, exactly, people. So like this year was anything but a wash. So yeah, I can't be mad at it. I mean, that was a combination of events, and Rebellion was a huge show for the company. As really all their shows been with Rebellion specifically. And didn't the roster come out after this match?
I think so.
Was it that? Yeah, because this was that oh god, did Phoenix die spot in this match?
I think so.
Yeah. So yeah, this is great stuff. I mean, some of the stuff they did in this match I vaguely remember, but I was like, good lord. So um, can't be mad at it. Like I said, if nothing else, just go back and watch all these matches and make the decision for yourself. But shout out to LAX for coming up multiple times in our awards, deservingly so.
Oh yeah. Lastly, most popular, The Fiend, Sami Callihan, Tessa Blanchard, Chris Jericho, Kazuchika Okada, Becky Lynch, and Kofi Kingston. Well, I can safely say that The Fiend and Becky Lynch don't have the support of fans like people think they do. At all. Kofi had some headway. Jericho had some headway, but your winner is, in fact, Tessa Blanchard. And I'm not that surprised. She's talented enough that even the most staunch of anti-intergender wrestlers will be like, yeah, she's really good. She's pretty enough that the most chauvinistic of men will be like, yeah, she's pretty good. She's strong enough that most women will be like, yeah, she's pretty good. She's the Venn diagram of female pro wrestlers, and it pays off. She wins everything, apparently. This one's not even like there's no conversation to be had because it's literally just, hey, who do you like the most? So yeah, Tessa won.